I just wanted to make a video really quickly. Um, Something I see out of the corporate Dems, Illuminati henchmen, Moloch worshippers, Satanists, whatever they want to call themselves, you know what I mean. The influential influencers, journalists, the people in the club who get a lot of attention. One thing I see them say a lot is that people who try to relate the current moment to the George Bush administration and 9/11 are delusional is the biggest mind fuck ever. Everything happening now was started then. Okay? Don't let these Moloch worshippers confuse you. Everything Trump is doing and the current MAGA movement is doing was seeded by the neocons. All of it. We are dealing with degrees of change, not radical change. I'm going to explain how. Okay? One, leaning into terror and fear to create the groundwork foundation of the Czech authoritarian state. Needless to say, a few months after George Bush was elected, magically 9/11 happens. There's plenty of conspiracies about 9/11, ranging from they literally blew up the buildings for geopolitical goals to they had intelligence the attack was going to happen and decided to leverage it. Either way, most people who are non-conformist and stupid know something is up with this. That there's no fucking way that was so planned, that was so serendipitous that everything they would want to happen then happened, unless they made it happen. You know, they needed an excuse to create terror and fear and paranoia so people are suggestible, so people will rally behind their leaders, so people will accept anything. What a fucking. It's a lot like 10/7 in Israel. You have to be a fucking nitwit to not think they didn't have at least advanced intelligence of this attack and were waiting for it for a while. Or alternatively, they're moles in Hamas. Israel government funds Hamas. They want Hamas, just like they want anti-Semitic attacks. Like, they're willing to overlook Elon Musk's anti-Semitic. They want it. Like, this is binary moron thinker. How could Jew want attack on Jew? Identity politics make you think of binary. If you black, not white. If you Jew, not Christian. It's like, I hate to tell you this, Netanyahu with a light good government, Israel, and nothing helps them more than stupid white chuds blowing up temples, writing graffiti on shit, because then they could turn around and say, I told you everything we need to do is because of unusual measures. Like, come on, bro. And that's exactly why they need terror attacks to do geopolitical plans they had in the works for years. By Israel's own admission, they were working on Operation Beep for 10 fucking years. How are you going to work on a political strike, a military strike for 10 fucking years, but everything that just happened is because of a surprise attack on 10/7/23? Come on now. Bullshit. Anyway, needless to say, 9/11 happened. Conspiracies range from they literally fucking blew up the building to they had intelligence and let it happen, decided to use it. Either way, that was the foundation of the tech authoritarian state. They created the Department of Homeland Security. They passed the Patriot Act, surveilling citizens. Google had just merged, was just created by the CIA. At the time, they were absolutely terrified of the internet and people speaking outside of their puppet celebrities. And so they anticipated use CIA with the front Google to mod everything. You get a free email. We can read all your emails, you know. And they had just set the, like, literally, I'm not even kidding, 17 days after 9/11, they targeted me. And I would be used to, one, attack speech, which they were terrified of. That's why the CIA made Google above all else to monitor what citizens were doing. Everything going on at that time was about that. Patriot Act and so on. So set its tone. Your speech is modern. You could get tortured badly to death, raped forever and shit. Send that message to society. Also, ISIS for progs. Create a government-controlled progressive movement they will know they will need by at least 2020, when tech automation and fucking over the people really starts to heal. There's going to be more people in society like, fuck capitalism, fuck the West, behead these motherfuckers. And that's where Google Google revolution will come in. You got your Google Gmail, you got your Google Shopping, you got your Google Scholar, now you got your Google revolution. And that's what this was for. Like, any malcontent, go on Discord, recruit them, have them play in a sandbox. Very similar to ISIS, right? Oh, I'm sorry. It's a conspiracy that the CIA made ISIS and M16 and shit. Anyway. So we can clearly see they used fear, terror, threat to make people less individual, more group conformist, cling to the leaders and accept anything in the advancement of the tech authoritarian state. What do we see with Trump? They can't do another 9/11. If they want to advance a tech authoritarian state, they need to manufacture a threat. If they tried that same shit where they like blew up the Golden Gate Bridge and then they were like, we have to unite around the Chinese who blew up the bridge, people would know. They'd be like, come on, what are the fucking odds? Every time a Republican gets in office, some shit blows up and we need to like go to unusual measures, stop thinking, band together, and just let you do whatever you want, take our freedoms. Come on, people would fall. People will, even as stupid as they are, they'd be suspicious. So it's 2016. What do? You want to advance the tech authoritarian state, but you know you can't blow up another building. That would be too obvious. So what do? Well, it's now 2016. 16 years have passed, and internet's a huge part of everyone's lives. You manufacture a fake threat through memes. That's all you do. The trends in the schools. Your kid goes to kindergarten, they come back with a dick. Oh my God, your kindergartner goes to daycare and the teacher's they, them, and they're telling them they're really a girl. Oh my God. The scam of illegal immigration, which actually just fucks over and skirts around the progressive movement. Painting these people with illegal brush, amp that shit up. They're not sending their best. They are sending the mafia, the cartels with the fentanyl. They're trying to kill your daughters and make your sons drug addicts. You make a fake threat. And now we're so online, you don't need to have a real threat. And even that was similar to neocons. There was initially a real event, a building that killed 3,000 people blowing up from a plane, but the thing that really made people go to war and agree to these unusual measures was W standing there going, Iraq has weapons of mass destruction. We have very good intelligence. They are going to hit us again. You know how scary that was? We need to go and invade to get the WMDs, my fellow Americans. I love New York. I love Texas. We must band together to get the WMDs. That was a fake threat. But the fear and paranoia of a real attack made people believe it. So even that's the same. The idea is we're so online now, and we got so used to bullshit from what they did, and like culture and the agencies brainwashing us. Hey, I'm a fucking piece of shit. I'll punch you in the face. I'm Eminem. And thinking that kind of shit is cool. That when they gave us a Day of Wrestler guy, got rid of the stuffy, yally virtue signaling, like, I love you, you love me, we're a great big murderous family. Help me blow up overseas, and you will be peaceful and free. You know, like, they dropped that, and they just put the WWF Eminem wrestler, like, I'll fucking pile drive the Mexicans who are bringing the fentanyl here. The very bad Mexicans. I'll go to the top rope and elbow them until they cry, I'm so sorry, Donald, I'm so sorry, I will not bring any more fentanyl here. And people love it because of all the culture and us getting used to bullshit and being afraid and using fear and paranoia to make us just stop thinking and become a group. The CIA has been researching that since the 60s. They have all these, how to create a cult, how to make a cult turn violent, Charlie. This is an escalation, right down to that detail. The thing that made us go to war and agree to the Patriot Act and Homeland Security and all this bullshit was fake. Just like the immigrant invasion, they're transing your kindergartner is fake. Right? And in my group, like, they have minorities paranoid, like white people are killing them, like if you see a cop, they're going to shoot you in the head. Like, So you might as well rape this woman, and you feel like it's getting better. Just like on the other side, they harass a few migrants, they harass a few Hispanic people, and they go, oh, he's really making changes. That scary memes I read about, totally getting better because these people are suffering. Kind of like with me, like you saturate people in propaganda. You know the issue with gaps between races? It's not the fact there's no social safety net, and people who are born poor from a legacy of racism will die poor. And at best, words and memes just reinforce that power inequity. Meaning the real way to fix this is us paying taxes, specifically those victims? No! It's bad thoughts and words. So you know what? Beat this woman who said bad thoughts and words. It's the same shit. Like, oh, I feel like I'm gaining power and getting shit done. The same thing the MAGA chubs are thinking, right? Even that is the fucking same, right? They needed to make division within society because they couldn't pull off another terror attack to make the enemy external. They don't care. Just like they don't care if you love Nazis or hate Nazis. As long as you're paranoid, afraid, convinced people near you want to hurt you, that's all they care about, right? They don't care if you're rallied together to get external enemies, or if you think New York's the enemy and Texas is good, or Texas is the enemy and New York is good. They don't give a fuck. As long as you're paranoid, convinced people around you hate you, we'll take unusual measures to stop that threat. That's the same between the 9/11 environment. That's what they want. The CIA wants you to be in a state of paranoid fear that you are under attack. So you take unusual measures, willing to give away freedoms for it, because it has to be done because of this threat. They don't give a fuck if New York and Texas are hugging hands like Barney, or if New York and Texas are punching each other. Because they couldn't blow up another building and blame the Chinese or the Arab. They couldn't do that again because we would figure it out. As long as you're convinced there's an enemy after you in society and you need to cling to a leader and let them do whatever they want, success. That's the main reason Trump just had to divide America, because they could not blow up another building. Imagine that. Could you even imagine they tried to pull the 9/11 scam again? The advanced tech authorities, and they were like, the Golden Gate Bridge just blew up. Many, many people died. It's a tragedy, many, many people. And we must rally together, New York and Texas, to get the enemies. And we must take unusual measures of making alligator Alcatraz to get these bad, bad people we find in our society. Come on, bro. People would right away know, like, this is 9/11 all over. But if you make a new threat with the same psychological outcome, like, yeah, New York is after you. They want to trans your kids. And then you have the fucking fake Democrat Moloch dicksuckers like, those white people in Texas are going to kill all the trans people and all the fucking... Like, oh my God, I have to let you do what you want because I'm going to die. You could have that statement in 2001 and 2025. It's still being said. That is the same. And what's being done under that statement? That feeling they created in you? Further erosion of liberalism, further erosion of individuality, individual thought and deviation, further group identity, which is always led by a leader that's the state and the billionaire class and high-level agents, and willingness to overlook your going broke. Same shit. The same shit with W. So after they did this bullshit, we're under threat, you need to less advance the tech authoritarian state, they also did lots of financial scams to enrich the elites and make us broke and cause... We didn't even go to the recession part yet. We might be headed for a depression. But this is literally the same shit. So after they manufacture threats to advance the tech authoritarian state, and everyone's a paranoid freak, willing to let the leaders do anything, the only reason they had to divide the country within versus unify us and have external, because they couldn't pull off blowing another building up and blaming terrorists. They could not do that. It'd be too obvious. They had to, like, pit states against each other. But the main thing the agencies, the elites wanted to do was create that same feeling of paranoia, fear, unusual measures, or call for unusual actions, which then leads to logically escalation of the tech authoritarian state. And finally, the financial part, where they make you broke, increase power gaps. Same shit all over again. They're making us broke, but people aren't caring because half the people think white people are going to stand them down the block and kick up transfers in the face. The other people are concerned the Mexicans are going to kill their kids and trans them. So nobody cares about the going broke part. But Canada, the recession's coming. It's going to be worse than ever. It might even be a depression. The dollar going to be in the toilet. Going to be horrible. That part has not yet happened to replicate the neocons. So we can see that's the same. What else is the same? Oh, it's completely different. Trump leverages racism like no other. Bro, were you there? Were you alive in 2001? Because I was there, right? Even me being fucked up, I knew they're scapegoating Arabs and Muslims. I knew. As fucked up as I was, I got targeted by the CIA. I remember thinking, Iraq is a secular government. They would not advance Islamic nationalism. You're just literally associating Iraq with radical Islamicism because they're Arabs. What? You have no evidence of any of these things. We just have to take your word they have WMDs and will blow us up. They completely leveraged racism and racial scapegoating. The only difference is this. We were not so far gone that W up there stood up himself and said, the very scary towel heads are after us. They're very, very bad people. He kept it clean and tidy because we were not at that level. But you know what? There are plenty of vultures circling the neocons, screaming and screaming, who were. The Arab roach is a big problem. And then, the birtherism with Obama. He's not a real American. He's a Muslim. They were so leaning into racism. The only difference is back then, Hispanics and trans weren't a target. It was just Arabs. They literally, when they wheeled Trump out, they decided to stop targeting Arabs as much and shift to Hispanic people and trans people. I'm going to tell you why. They don't want progressives to totally abandon the Israeli cause. And if they made it so obvious that the way Arabs are treated are the same as trans and Hispanic people by Trump, more progs would wake up. Israel's off the chain. Right now, the Israeli stance amongst progressives, a lot realize they're just as bad as Trump and they're full of shit and they're creating a genocide and they're completely out of control, but not all. Some are very pro-Israel, right? And I believe that's the only reason they switched from Arabs are the problem to Hispanics and trans, because they don't want more Democrats and progs to wake up. Israel is just as bad as what's Trump. They're their best friends. Their government's rotten. They don't want them to see those similarities, so they had to make Trump scapegoat different groups so the pro-Israeli Democrats and progressives don't wake the fuck up that what W did and all this shit you're paranoid of is the same shit. Anyway. Even that's the same. They totally leaned into and worsened racism. The only difference is they did not have the president high up doing it, saying overtly, it's Arabs. There are plenty of people swimming the sharks in the waters. The only thing that changed is because we let them get away with that. And that's why so many people call George Bush a Nazi. You see these fucking corporate Dems. We were hyperbolic calling George Bush a Nazi. No, we weren't. He was creating an authoritarian state leveraging racism. You're just so used to Trump that you think that's fine. And that's like saying we were hyperbolic saying we were raped because they were touching us. It's yeah, they were touching you, so you would be accepting of that for when they escalated, right? Rapists start with flashing and then they move to fucking rape. There's a series to these things. And you don't just wheel out Trump from the start. You start with someone like George Bush. I'm a very clean-cut American. I'm a Yaley. My family is very prominent in this country. They've been Republicans. My father helped kill Kennedy. My father's been president twice. I'm a good old Southern boy. I care deeply about this union. So you start with that, and then you have the people around them going, fucking towelheads! Obama's a Muslim! But those people, you don't associate, but they're creating the tone. You escalate from that, and then the next stage, 2016, 15 years later, now the president is those people. Now the vein bulging, foaming spittle at the mouth, what are we going to do with the Arab roach? Now they're the president and his advisors. That's nothing like it is. And people call George Bush a Nazi for a reason. Because they knew he was leveraging racism and paranoid fear to create an authoritarian state. Guess who else did that? Hitler. So when you look at Trump And by the way, the same people in power when George Bush was president are still in power today, suggesting it's not a radical deviation but an escalation. When people compared what Bush was doing to a form of fascism, Hitler, they were right. And all that's happened is the scam has escalated. Now the president overtly dog whistles, and they have a guy named Stephen Miller who is like overtly saying racist shit. Before it would be like, no, we keep it clean, but like everyone around us does. Like who promotes us. You can't take accountability for them. We don't control them. Literally, the only thing that's new here is back in 2000, they put more effort into covering up just how bad China and Russia infiltrate us. Even though Sergey Brin is from the USSR and was basically extremely high up in our CIA, people didn't get it like this is a plan to destroy America. They think Sergey Brin is devoted to America or something, when he's clearly helping the objectives of China and Russia. So because it is now 20 years later, we are now openly working with Putin and helping the objectives of China and trying to, and we're so far gone, we're now in the more active phase of destroying the world, but using the same strategies that we used then. And the people in power now were the people in power then, and the goal was always to destroy America, to create a techno-authoritarian state, a one-world government, you could even speculate, more in the fashion of China, where people have social credit, where they anticipate no one's going to need labor. Capitalism, they're terrified of the tech class doing a coup on the capitalist system. So that's exactly why they pivot to authoritarianism, to make capital have value for oppressing people, and that prevents collaboration with the tech class and the people against the capital holders. But the future of the world is a tech authoritarian state where everything is rented and social credit determines what you get. And they're probably going to implement UBI. I anticipate their next move, just like they had Obama after Bush, they're going to have a fake left progressive takeover. And that's when they're going to heal and rebuild, but they'll just be advancing the states, except that the destroying phases will go into remission. And then that's when they'll implement stuff like UBI and shit. But that's in the future. And we're headed for another depression or recession. Anyone saying there's no precedent for what's happening, this is completely out of the box, is either too fucking stupid to walk and talk, or they're a Baphomet dick-sucking, Moloch dick-sucking, Baal dick-sucking, Satanist freak who sucks billionaire cock, and they just like anything they do for the group. They're an empty hollow narc. The CIA is on record saying they look for hollow narcissists with external validation. They have no internal ethics or morals. They're one of those. Or too stupid to walk and talk and should be ignored. Everything happening is an escalation of what the neocons did. The Democrats and progs were not hyperbolic for calling Trump Hitler-like, because everything Trump is doing, they started. The only difference is Bush virtue signaled. He pretended to be about unity, pretended about the union, he pretended to love our values, and they did not openly work with Putin yet. But the seeds were all being placed for that to happen now. To advance the authoritarian states, to control people in paranoia and fear, so that they accept these unusual measures, and to increase the gap, the people in them, which allows them to attack individual humanity and liberal rights and democracy and all these things. And I anticipate the long-term goal is to completely destroy the liberal world, create almost a one-world government tech authoritarian state. People will live on UBI, the ones left who don't die from what's going to happen. And social credit will determine what you get. And the future is more like a Chinese style. The entire idea of freedoms and liberal values will not exist anymore. And that's the long-term goal. And that's exactly why our elites are all from the liberal world. And it's kind of the plan. But we're in the stage right now where they're wrecking worse, advancing the tech authoritarian state, enhancing the gap, the bottom and the top, which is all setting the prep for a major economic crash, to depression and hopelessness that will lead to the progressive hero they're going to unveil in 2028 probably, where it's still going to be, just like Obama really wasn't a major progressive, and they just continued business as usual but dialed back some of the abuse and started like some kind of healthcare system. It's going to be like that. Like there's going to be another fake hope and change person. and they're going to like implement UBI and dial back some of the pain, but keep the authoritarianism, the social credit. I anticipate ICE eventually pivoting fully to like the tech secret police, and they're going to switch from hunting Hispanics to hunting anyone against the progressive utopia. I see that coming too. Anyway, yeah, anyone saying that if you see parallels in what Bush did and what's happening now, you're a crazy prog. No, you're just sane and you're right and smart. And they want you to think Trump is this out of the box, no precedent for this, because they hope you have the memory of a fucking ant. And they hope you don't realize our own people did this. They want you. They like to promote this narrative: Trump is happening because of foreign enemies, versus the enemies are within, bro. Like Sergey Brin is from the USSR, Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are from post-apartheid South Africa. You don't think that China and Russia recruited these people to help after we shanked them? Come on, they all have the same vision, bro, and it will happen. And I don't know, like the Democrats who aren't Moloch worshiping liars and they really believe there's no similarity between MAGA and neocons, I can only conclude they're so narcissistic. They actually think the top layer of what is said is what matters versus that is a result of dynamics underneath. So the fact Bush virtue signaled, kept it clean, was a Yalie from an elite Republican family, did not divide the union. They created paranoia and fear through external enemies and unifying people in these external enemies. They think that matters, like, versus they can't blow up another building without being too obvious, so they have to make the enemies internal to create that paranoia and fear. And because you let them get away with all the shit they got away with then, which is why people call them the Nazis, now they can overtly make the president a piece of shit like this. Like the guy online or in a journal at MAG who was like, the Arab roach is special and must be handled. Now the president's saying those things. They got rid of the virtues. Like I feel like Democrats think words make things happen versus words are an effect of what's going on. You have to understand what's really going on to understand the words. Like, if I make jokes, but I'm an empathetic person that helps people in 2 percentile and psychopathy, I'm not a harm. But they see words, and then they try to find a narrative from those words. Like, you can get a guy virtue saying, I love the union, I love New York, I love, everything they're doing is to harm the liberal world. And they think that they'll believe the words. Like, that the neocons were good. And the reason Trump's not good is because he has bad words and he divides the union. It's like, don't you realize that's an escalation? The same psychology, the same thing they want to achieve is identical between them. The only reason Trump has to divide the union is they can't manufacture another terrorist threat. It would be too fucking obvious. It is simply because you let them get away with all that shit that they can escalate to the president himself is doing it. And honestly, I think another reason they did it is in order to make the average person believe your neighbor is an enemy, they need to create like a jocular friend-like vibe in the president, a populist, because a stuffy person would not make a regular person believe the person I know is an enemy. And I think that's another reason they looked at that strategy, other than the fact you could they could get away with it because they got away with it last time, saying like Obama's a Muslim foreigner, and nothing happened. It wasn't like, this is unacceptable. It was just like, all right, I guess you won anyway. So since they got out, they could just escalate that same shit and make the president say it. But I think another reason they chose a populist with charisma is to get people to believe people you actually know and see are an enemy. It has to be coming from a place of, I'm your friend, I'm like you. Even though it's insane, anyone could think Trump is like them, but they do. They see themselves in him, despite the fact he's a billionaire celebrity child rapist, groomed by every intelligence agency in the world because he's so high in narcissism. That's why he was selected, because they look for narcs because they're so easy to control. So when they were picking the guy who was going to be the charismatic wrecker to pit the country against each other, it needed to be like a super narcissist, and Donald Trump was the perfect fit. So the intelligence agencies of the world, KGB, Mossad, M16, CIA, was grooming him for this purpose since the 80s. And it's because his narcissism is next level. It's like a rare gift if your gift is controlling a loser, freak, piece of shit, trash bucket to destroy things and feel good about themselves. Anyway, yeah, anyone saying that neocons are nothing like MAGA, this is a wild precedent that we've never seen before, is a fucking nitwit, or who literally thinks virtue signaling makes things happen, or alternatively, they are a Baphomet worshipping saboteur and should be discarded and ignored.